Hey, welcome to the Leadership Collective. Gary Reineke with my co-host, Micah Dodson from Thrive Church Planting. Great to have you here, Micah.
Great to be a part of this with you, Gary. And we've got our friend Ty Davis on the line as well. Ty, tell us a little bit about your ministry and your involvement in the Leadership Collective.
Yeah, so great to see you guys again. My name is Ty Davis here at Flurry Community Church. I'm one of the pastors here on staff. A couple different roles here at TCC. One, I get to do kind of in the trenches ministry with our high schoolers and our young adults, but also a lot of administrative work. And so managing our staff team. And one of the key components of that is making sure that we don't kind of fall into a silo approach, and making sure that all of our mission, vision, goals, that all of those things are working kind of together across all of the different ministries with our staff. And loved my time here at TCC. And then also executive director of a nonprofit called Reaching Higher, which is out serving at-risk kids in our community, and getting other churches in the community on board to partner together to do this great work. And so to talk a little bit about Leadership Collective, man, when I first heard about Leadership Collective, I didn't really know much about it, didn't know really what to expect, but I am so glad that I took part in the Leadership Collective. This has just been a great time, a great challenge for me personally as a leader. And I just really love getting together with all of these pastors and leaders who are in the trenches themselves and doing so many great things, but then also being able to learn from you, Micah, and Gary that weekend. It was just a beautiful model for learning, in my opinion. And so glad that I got to take part in it.
If you were going to highlight one tangible outcome that came as a result of being a part of the Leadership Collective, what would you say that is?
Yeah, the Leadership Collective really challenged me, and I learned a lot about myself and my understanding of discipleship and leadership. And I think that I didn't really realize how involved in the daily grind and the rhythms of church life that I was in. And I realized that I was really doing very little discipleship personally and in the ministries, that I'm responsible for. And that was a hard thing to swallow. The Leadership Collective really helped me reevaluate all of my ministries, seek out the deficits that exist when it comes to discipleship and leadership development, and then to re-strategize in such a way that not only relit a fire for me personally, but also, more importantly, helps create a culture of multiplication within our leaders and in our teams in both our church and our nonprofit organization. But I think the thing that I really enjoyed about it was just getting together with other leaders, other pastors who are also in the trenches, and being able to go through this process of learning the context that is just, I think it was so perfect. It was such a blended context of being able to learn from, Gary and you, Micah, hearing from your experiences and your guys' diverse backgrounds, but also being able to hear from, the other pastors who were there. To me, I think, that kind of deep dive in a weekend scenario, it wasn't quite like drinking from a fire hose, because it was strategic, it was well planned, well thought out, but there was just a wealth of information. But I think that you guys just did a phenomenal job of setting it up in such a way that we had time to really, take it in, digest it, and figure out how it best is going to play a role back in our context, in our local church, in our ministry. So it was phenomenal. I really loved everything about that weekend experience.
That's great. And you've already alluded to this, but I think one of the realities many church leaders find themselves in is that we're so busy working in the church that we don't take time to step back and work on the church and make some of those shifts. What are some of the tangible outcomes that you've been able to see implemented as a result of this?
I think I learned a lot about just coaching, right? So a big part of Leadership Collective is kind of that coaching experience that you get from you guys, trained individuals, right? And I think I gained a lot of arrows to kind of just throw in the quiver of different styles and ways to go about that coaching. And so it was kind of just a culmination of hearing it all and engaging with it, personally for my own benefit, but then also retooling it in a way and repackaging it in a way for my ministry staff and for, the leaders that I have in my organization. and then bringing them up to speed with what I'm learning. And in doing so, I think that allowed kind of what we've been learning about making better disciples, making better leaders. It really challenged me, to understand it better, right? When you learn something and then you have to reteach it, it just sticks. It goes one layer above that. And that has been a big help for me, and how I've seen it kind of just being lived out in my ministry. And then, we're currently, like I said, reworking our discipleship process and, reevaluating our leadership pipeline within our church and within our nonprofit organization, and figuring out how we can do those two things better. And so sometimes you just have to take a step back and realize, like, hey, I may be missing the mark a little bit, or I could do some things a little bit better. And you kind of just got to strip it all down and then kind of build it back up. And I think this has been just a wake-up call for that. And I'm super excited about the future as we start to see more and more disciples and more leaders of leaders in both of our contexts.
And just kind of lastly, what would you want to share with other people that are thinking about participating in the Leadership Collective?
Yeah, I think that all pastors, ministry leaders should take part in the Leadership Collective. The investment into yourself, into your team, in my opinion, really compounds over time. And a lot of that is due to the passion, the wisdom and the effort that is put in by you guys. And so I highly recommend it for pastors and for ministry leaders. I believe that we're going to see an abundance of fruit in the church because of the time spent learning and being challenged to go deeper and wider in our understanding of discipleship and leadership development. And I think that, there's no good reason not to go through with this. And I'm super excited, even to make this available to the rest of our staff. I think what we experienced in that weekend training is something that would be not only beneficial for various leaders, but for churches to do as a staff team. I think it's a wonderful exercise, and I think it's much needed. It's going to produce so much fruit for the kingdom.
Thanks so much for sharing that, Ty. Gary, can you tell us a little bit more about the Leadership Collective?
Yeah, just real quickly, we have 3 goals with the Leadership Collective: to make more and better disciples, more and better leaders, and more and better churches. Our logo really capsulizes what we're about. The starfish represents reproduction, and in its purest sense, the starfish is able to reproduce other starfishes when it voluntarily removes a limb or involuntarily gets the limb removed. It reproduces a full starfish from that removed limb. What we're trying to help leaders do is not just be good disciples, but become better disciples who are reproducing themselves into other people's lives, developing more and better leaders and more and better churches. You'll find more information about all of the Leadership Collectives on our website. I want to say special thanks to Ty today. Awesome to have you in this first round of Leadership Collectives. And Michael, like always great to partner with you.
You too. Thanks.